How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I bring you a recap of the second round of the first Democratic Party debates leading up to the 2020 presidential election. Now, there's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of crazy moments, a lot of interesting people were revealed to us for probably the first time. But before I even get into it, I need to inform you of who was on stage. You had 10 more people climb out of that DNC clown car, and they are as follows: Joe Biden, Michael Bennet, Pete Buttigieg, Christian Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, John Hickenlooper, Bernie Sanders, Eric Swalwell, Marianne Williamson, and Andrew Yang. Quite the interesting and eclectic bunch. Some space cadets in there, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let's start from the very beginning and talk about how the debate started. Now, there was some Spanish spoken here, but not nearly as much as the previous debate. I felt like the previous debate was half in Spanish, half in English. In this one, it was only like one or two words said by Jose Diaz-Balart, one of the so-called moderators from MSNBC 13. And by the way, do you know that Jose Diaz-Balart is Fidel Castro's nephew by marriage? True story, look it up, but I digress. So there was not much Spanish spoken here, but there was plenty of pandering, plenty of trying to appeal to certain groups that were going on. Now, I have my notes right here, so if I look at the screen or look down, I'm looking at my notes. Bernie and the whole squad started off talking about what they were going to give to the American people, what they were going to promise. Free healthcare from cradle to grave, free college, free this, free that, minimum wage, $15 an hour, all types of programs they were promising, but there was no real plan on how to actually achieve it. How are you going to pay for it? They're talking about taxes and stuff like that. I think Bernie did get pressed. It might have been actually, speaking to Jose, it might have been by Jose Diaz-Balart about the way he was going to pay for it as far as raising taxes. And he did finally say that he would raise taxes on the middle class, talking about, will you be able to get this for it? I'm like, okay, how about I keep more of my own money and then I can do with my money what I want, rather than having you take the money, getting first dibs, taking a piece off the top and giving it back to me in bad healthcare. Because let's be clear, healthcare for all, which everybody pretty much endorsed, is not a good thing because you're going to have lesser quality services. Now, some people said they would keep private health insurance, but the way they were talking lets me know that they eventually wanted single payer, which means there will be no private health insurance. Okay, maybe they want to keep private insurers around for now, but eventually they want single payer. I guess maybe they think we're going to like single payer better than private health care. I doubt it. Speaking of health care, the most shocking moment in this entire debate for me was when the question was asked, would you support health care for free for all illegal immigrants? Everybody raised their hand and said yes.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay.
I was shocked. It's like, wow, there's no moderates. Everybody says free healthcare for illegals. You got folks on the street, people struggling, barely able to pay their hospital bills that are American citizens, but you want to give free healthcare to illegals? I mean, how does that make any sense? It's totally absurd. Now, some would say, well, it makes sense. How are you going to deny somebody treatment in a hospital if they come to the hospital? That's something different. But healthcare, so you could just go to the hospital when you got a headache and you get treated by a doctor for free? I think not. So that was really crazy. But really, what it really does is show how far the left has gone. They're totally far left. They're not even in planet Earth anymore, which is why I said you got plenty of space cadets that were on the panel tonight. And I'm quite sure if you asked that same question to those that were on stage last night or the night before last, Wednesday night, they pretty much said the same thing, but we'll keep moving. Speaking of space cadets, Marianne Williamson was the chief cadet out there because she was talking the way she was talking was just kind of just spacey, just really out there. I did a meme about her because she was talking about beating Donald Trump with love, and then I kind of mashed it up with Pat Benatar, Love Was a Battlefield, because that's the kind of space she was in, old hippie from California, although she's from Houston, Texas. There was one point in time where she had kind of a black scent going on. Check out this clip right quick.
Ms. Williamson,
my first call is to Prime Minister of New Zealand, who said that her goal is to make New Zealand the place where it's the best place in the world for a child to grow up. And I will tell her girlfriend you are so on, because the United States of America is going to be the best place in the world for a child to grow up.
So what was that? I'm not really sure. It was just kind of weird when I heard it, when I saw it and I saw the neck twist. I'm like, uh-oh, that might not be a really good thing to do. But she may get a pass because she was the only one on stage in support of reparations for slavery. Okay. She brought it up. Nobody else did, specifically for black people. So she may get a pass because of that particular stance. Now, right next to her or close to her on stage was Kamala Harris, the only quote unquote black person. I use that term kind of loosely. The only black person on stage. She did not bring up reparations, but she did talk about some things with Joe Biden. She attacked Joe Biden on the stance of being against busing and also working with segregationists back in the 70s when he came into the United States government. I think he was a senator at the time and had been for a very long time all throughout his career. Now, people look at this as some kind of really big moment for Kamala. They said, well, Kamala Harris won the debate right there. I'm not quite sure if that's accurate. To those who don't know about her past or know about her, that would make sense. But I'm seeing a lot of black folks, a lot of black liberals who don't like Kamala Harris due to her past in California. So although she may have done well to try and, call Joe Biden out on this quote unquote racism, which probably is not even really the case. But although she may have done well right there and Biden couldn't really defend himself, which is a whole different story I get to in a moment, I don't think that really put her in a position higher than where she was in the black community. Maybe in non-black communities that are liberal, maybe that might help because they see her as a fighter for justice and stuff like that. But those who know the real know that it ain't true, because let's not forget, for at least 2 years or more, she was California's top cop, the attorney general. Under Kamala Harris, she passed this thing that was designed to lock up parents if their kids skipped school, if they were truant. Now, she said nobody got locked up, but you're threatening people with getting locked up, and who are you going to target the most? I also believe that she was behind putting a lot of black men behind bars more than the previous person. All right. And also she was in favor of using inmates for, I guess you would call it slave labor, to fight fires, in the forest of California. So people look at her past and stack it next to what she said in the debate, and it doesn't really match up, but I digress. In a surprise moment, I think Eric Swalwell performed the best out of everybody on the stage. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not a liberal person, not a Democrat. I would never, ever vote for an Eric Swalwell or anybody on the stage, because Eric Swalwell was talking about gun confiscation and like banning the so-called assault rifle, whatever that is. I don't even know what that means. Assault weapon, weapons of war. Who knows what that is? That could be anything. That could be a scary looking long rifle. I don't know. But anyway, I would not support Eric Swalwell in an actual election, but just being a non-biased viewer, taking myself out of who I am and put myself into a body of a neutral person, he performed the best. He's a relatively young guy, 38 years old, moderately handsome, kind of tall. That matters because Pete Buttigieg, although he may have performed kind of well, he's a little guy. I say he's no more than 5'6", 5'7". He's a small guy. So that does not look good when you are on a debate stage next to a Donald Trump at 6'3", 200 and something pounds. You appear to be really weak, really small, and unable to be able to get certain things done. It's the reality situation. The average height of U.S. president since 1900 has been 5'11" or 5'10", maybe even 6 foot. Okay. The past few presidents have all been above 6 feet. Barack Obama was above 6 feet. George W. was like 6 feet even. Trump is 6'3". Slick Willie was like 6'2", 6'3". Reagan was 6'2", 6'3". I think Nixon was also kind of tall. And the only president below 6 feet since 1970, I think, was Jimmy Carter. And you see what kind of president he was. So that height, that stature really means something. But again, I'll move on. My favorite moment of the debate was from Eric Swalwell. Check it out.
I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, it's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans. That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today.
I mean, what he said was correct, 100%. And it's not even about, Eric Swalwell's policies versus Joe Biden's policies. It's about, look, man, you've been in here too long. It speaks against career politicians, those who just, never really leave, keep hold of power forever and ever and ever. That was fantastic. I disagree with him on everything else, but on that particular thing right there, passing the torch, you've been since the 1970s in office, pass the torch. You said that 32 years ago when I was a little boy. I'm about to be 40. I got kids, about to go to college, this, that, and the third. So do what you said. That was Joe Biden's own words used against him. So that was a fantastic moment for me. But moving right along, speaking to Joe Biden, he looked totally exhausted. Worn out. I kind of felt bad for him, honestly. Taking it away from politics and being a human being, the guy looked like he needed some real help. He looked like he has one foot in the grave, not even trying to be funny. At a certain point, I saw him just kind of stare off into space a little bit. His eyes were kind of glossed over. I'm like, I don't know what's going on there. Is that dementia? Are you just tired, dehydrated? Something was wrong with Joe Biden. And I'm reading certain articles. People are saying that watch parties of those that came to see Joe were kind of awkward. He didn't perform well. The campaign could be freaking out. He did not look well on stage. I think that after this debate you just saw last night, his numbers are going to tank. If not tank, they're not going to be any higher. There's no way. He got wrecked by Kamala Harris and Eric Swalwell. That's why I said earlier, although Kamala Harris wrecked Joe Biden, it's kind of like beating it's like beating a piñata. Anybody could have beat Joe Biden last night. He was not doing very well on stage. The debate was dominated by probably like 4 or 5 people. You had Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, maybe even Pete Buttigieg to a certain extent, Kristen Gillibrand. And that was pretty much it. Bernie Sanders spoke in his normal loud tone. You didn't hear much from the other people, Hickenlooper, Bennett, or Yang. And speaking about Yang, I wanted him to talk more. I felt like Yang was more of a moderate person, more of a sane person, but he didn't get much time to speak. There was a hashtag on Twitter talking about let Yang talk or let Yang speak. And I agree with that. I was rooting for him. I was like, hey, let Yang get a word in. It's good that he was able to at least be on the stage. This is a guy that pretty much rose from the internet. In my humble opinion, he was a businessman, not a politician at all. So that's good. I think the only other person that was not in politics was Marianne Williamson. But understand this. Although she is an author, that's what her listed occupation is. She is also Oprah's spiritual advisor, quote unquote. I think she had Deepak Chopra, but he became too conservative for her. But that's a different story. She is her spiritual advisor. So I tend to believe through that connection, that got her to where she is right now, because I was seeing Oprah doing little stump speeches here and there from Michelle Obama, for Stacey Abrams and other people. So that's probably how that whole thing happened. In my humble opinion, I could be wrong. Joe Biden said his most important goal is to beat Trump. I don't see that happening. I don't see Biden making it really too much longer, because we're just now in the very beginning of this whole debate process, and you already got Joe Biden pretty much short-circuiting it out, being tired, exhausted. You're not even gotten into the teeth of the whole situation yet, so that's not going to work out. The winners, I would say, would be Eric Swalwell, maybe Pete Buttigieg to a certain extent, but definitely Eric Swalwell. He was a far and away winner. Kamala Harris performed well, but I know about her past, so it's hard for me to label her as a winner or anything like that, because her past contradicts what she said on stage last night. The poorest performer was Joe Biden, without a doubt, slurring his words. Like, it got so bad that he would be talking, and I felt like he was trying to extend his speech up until the point where he would get cut off. You understand what I'm saying? It's like he knows he got 45 seconds. He would talk for 44 seconds and then stop talking, while others would just speak and finish a point. It's a whole different way that you are able to communicate. So I don't see him lasting too much longer. Marianne Williamson was kind of sane, but at the same time insane. It was weird. So I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what do you think? Do you think that what I said about Eric Swalwell winning was correct? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or am I wrong? Who do you think won the debate? Do you think any of them have a chance against Trump in 2020? I don't think so. I think they're all pretty much toast. It's just a matter of who's going to put up the biggest fight. I think it'd be Swalwell. Some may say Kamala Harris. Some may say Buttigieg, but Buttigieg, little guy, 5'6", 5'8", maybe at the max. That ain't really going to work. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.